You're live.
We are live. That means start firing off those questions right now. Welcome to the Blitz, week 1 of college football. We're talking Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, and whatever else you want to talk about. Games tonight, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even Monday. I'll tell you what else we got. Ross Benjamin and Ralph Michaels both were so outstanding on last week's show that they are back in the saddle with me again. Ross, I'm going to throw it to you right away. Like I said, we got some big games tonight. Boise State, South Florida. Game of the weekend in the group of 5. That kicks off 5:30 Eastern on ESPN. Once upon a time, Ross, you could have bet South Florida at plus 9.5. Well, guess what? You can't do that anymore. Line is all the way down to 5.5. What do you think of the line move, Ross? And what do you think about the game?
Yeah, for whatever reason, they're catching a lot of money, too. You know, I mean, that's a it might be a little bit of a sharp move, but I think it's mostly money induced. And I'm not so sure if you do like South Florida, you certainly have lost the value there. These are two veteran teams, Brian. You know, that last year, offensively, they were pretty good, but South Florida's defense last year left a lot to be desired. Yes, they have a lot of returning starters on defense, but it's a defense that allowed 30 points or more on like 7 different occasions. 35 points or more. They scored on 7 different occasions. And then defensively, they allowed 30 points or more like 6 times last year. So this is a South Florida team that's porous defensively. They should be very good offensively, though. And Boise State, although they had their moments last year, the strength of their team last year was their offense. And I think that's going to be the case again this year when you look at the return of quarterback Maddox Madsen. And they got a real good redshirt freshman running back to keep an eye on, 225 pounds, Sire Gaines. This kid is a star in the future. I know they lost Ashton Giante, but I think he's not going to replace Giante right away. Maybe he won't even amount to the quality of back that Giante was. But he's certainly a good one and somebody to keep an eye on. This is a Boise State team last year offensively. They 450 yards or more on 8 separate occasions, 600 yards or more on 3 of those occasions, and they scored 34 points or more 8 times. I think both teams will be able to move the ball consistently and score. I mean, the total has come down to 61.5. It is a high number, especially for a season opener, but I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here. Very small lean here, guys. 2 experienced offenses, 2 questionable defenses. I'm going to go over the total of 61.5 as a small lean in this contest.
All right. There you have it. A little lean on the total for Boise, South Florida. I'm going to throw this in. As much love as South Florida's getting in the market, guys, I hope you're aware that Alex Golden, becoming the head coach of UCF, Bulls have just 1 win against a team with a winning record. Boise State, obviously, we're all 0-0 at this point, but Boise State, once again, the presumed favorite to represent the G5 in the college football playoff. Ralph, I know you had a little bit to say on this game earlier this week on WagerTalk today. Is there anything else you'd like to add here, side or total, before we start talking about some other games?
Well, I was a huge fan of Byron Brown 2 years ago. Remember, he had a great season in 2023, got injured after the 3rd or 4th start last year, but he adds a whole nother dynamic to this team. I like Olsen his 3rd year. I agree with Ross. Don't, just because Gente's gone, and I think he was, 27 yards short of Barry Sanders' all-time record. Boise has one of the best O-lines in the country, the best in the conference for sure. They're going to be able to run the ball. So it just depends if USF can keep it close. I think they can. There's a couple things you got to remember here. This game is at 5:30. It got moved up for TV. You have a Boise team that's traveling, is going to be wearing their dark blue jerseys, playing at 90% humidity, feels like 114 degrees at 2:30 local time on a Friday. I think that gives USF at least a point edge. I do like USF plus the points here. And by the way, you know I had to go to the database.
Absolutely.
Since 2014, in game 1, if an FBS team is playing an FBS team and one is a home dog, they've gone 58-36, 61% against the spread. So not earth-shattering, but again, FBS home dogs in the last 10 years, over 60% game number one.
Yeah, we have some other home dogs. Now, keep in mind, this game is in Tampa. It's technically at Raymond James. It's not technically at Raymond James Stadium. It is at Raymond James Stadium, as a matter of fact. So just make a note of that. But there's some other home dogs on the docket for tonight. If you guys have any questions on those, please ask away in the comment section below. We will be happy to answer any of your questions. Friday, though, again, what a weekend this is of games. Ross, as we've got games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, big national TV games. And the big one on Friday, I think everyone wants to know about, is Auburn and Baylor. It's another game where money has definitely spoken and come in on one side. Auburn favored in Waco. I know that you are shaking your head almost in disgust, dare I say it, that line move. So please, sir, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I just think the SEC and the brand name of Auburn is getting way too much respect here. I very seldom disagree with the odds makers who set the lines. But, you know, if you're going to catch the odds makers in a soft spot, it's early on in college football, because right now it's all about projection and perception when setting lines. And look, this is a Baylor team. Last year they started 2-4. One of their losses was that Hail Mary loss against Colorado. Then they rebounded to go 6-0 straight up in ATS in their last 6 games. They have a veteran quarterback, last 6 regular season games, that is, until they lost to LSU 42-31. Now people will say, you're contradicting yourself, Ross. That's an SEC team. But let's not mistake. Auburn is not LSU this year, and they're not LSU last year. So I just think Baylor's an explosive offensive team, scored 28 points or more in all 6 home games last year. Veteran quarterback who's going to be one of the best in the Big 12. And you're looking at an Auburn team that was 1-3 straight up in ATS and true road games last year. Baylor 5-1 at home last year. Their only loss coming to BYU, a very good BYU team, 34-28. Give me the Baylor Bears here, Brian. Plus that small number.
All right. I like it. Yeah. And, you know, I talk to people with their ear to the ground. The things that we're hearing about quarterback Jackson Arnold for Auburn, they're not good, quite frankly. There's teams that he's maybe not grasping the offense as much as they would like. Ralph, you heard it. Ross disagrees with Auburn being favored, thinks there might be a little SEC bias going on here in week 1. Do you have any thoughts here on Auburn?
I agree with Ross. I mean, let's look at Auburn in the last 5 years. 6 wins, 6 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins, and 5 wins. Last 2 years under Freeze, 11 wins. I will say this, though. They did show improvement statistically. They were minus 6 yards per game in 2023. They did get the plus 98 yards per game. That is more like a 7 or 8 win team. The issue was minus 9 turnovers. Now, is Jackson Arnold an upgrade over Peyton Thornton? I don't think so. I agree with you. I think we have the better quarterback in Sawyer Robinson. Auburn is missing 10 of their top 15 tacklers. They're very weak in quarterback, running back, and linebacker. I will take Baylor in the situation at home, getting the points. Agree with Mr. Ross Benjamin, the boss.
Brian, if I could add, I'm not a big Hugh Freeze guy either. You know, you look at his first 2 years at Auburn, less than inspiring, right? And I just think the guy is an excellent recruiter. But when it comes to a game day manager and X and O guy, he leaves a lot to be desired. And so I'm not a big Hugh Freeze guy. I'm not a big Dave Aranda fan either. But the lesser of two evils, I like the coaching edge in this game as well.
Yeah, I'm doing this because I think Hugh Freeze's seat is getting a little bit hot down there at Auburn. So we got some questions coming in here, guys, in the chat. Like, see, I see your good friend Jesse Shules in the chat, by the way. But Jay Buff, my buddy Jay Buff, Jeffrey, I see you there in the chat asking me to head to the Akron, Wyoming game. I do requests, but no, I am not making the drive down I-77 to go watch an Akron, Wyoming game tonight. There are too many good games on television. I have too much studying to do in week 1. I wish that my in-person understreak, I wish I could bring those powers to you. buff, but no. And by the way, Akron. I am a proud MAC graduate, guys, Ralph and Ross of Ohio University. No one goes to the MAC for an education. I can tell you that. That being said, they're all drinking school. That being said, Akron, what are you doing? You're ineligible. Not that you were going to get to a bowl. You're ineligible for the postseason because your team's grades are so bad. What are you doing, gang? What in the name of Brian Leonard is going on down in Akron? Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, what's the world coming to when Akron is catching most of the money in a game in their season opener, and Wyoming's a road favorite against a Power 4 team in their season opener? Something, the under might be the way to go, I guess.
Yeah, that's a no thanks for me. Ralph, you talked about the home dogs in week 1, but I'm kind of with Ralph. That is not a game that I am looking to bet because Akron, I question what the motivation is coming to the season with the bowl ineligibility. And then, like Ross mentioned, Wyoming was atrocious last year. This has got to be one of the worst 4-point road favorites in week 1 we've seen in recent memory.
You guys are talking about Akron like they're a piece of crap. This is the longest winning streak the Akron Zips have had since 2018. They won the last 2 games of last year. That's a 2-game winning streak. So, hey, again, 2018 was the last time Akron won back-to-back games. No wonder they're jumping in the streets.
And I know if we have any Akron fans, I will shower you with this. At least you're not Kent State this year. I'll tell you what, you're better than your rival. I think you'll keep the wagon wheel will stay there. We've got some FCS questions here. ULM has been, that's been steamed all the way up to 30-31. I had a feeling that might happen. I don't know. Bet St. Francis. I don't know if you guys have any take on this. Mine would be bet St. Francis at your own discretion. I would not bet St. Francis in that matchup. ULM under Vincent. It's one of those situations, guys. There's maybe some other instances of this tonight, even at the FBS level. Coaches who need to make a statement in the first game. They're not going to be many wins on the season. ULM, that's a game that they got to make a statement. I know it's not exactly the strongest support they get in the crowd, but they need to win that game big.
Speaking of an FCS versus FBS game, what caught my eye right off the bat is Iowa State just is a 14.5-point home favorite against South Dakota. And you look at this, if you're ever going to have the audacity to bet an FCS team in this situation, South Dakota, a team that one of the best in the FCS, currently ranked number 4 in the preseason poll. And Iowa State coming off a big win over Kansas State, had played in Dublin, Ireland last week. And up next, Brian and Ralph, they're hated rivals in the Iowa Hawkeyes. So if you're ever going to I'm not saying I'm going to, but that certainly seems like an awful inviting spot.
Ralph?
Brian, I did a TNA video for Bet On It today, and how many times have our viewers read, this team has an advantage because they have a game under their belt? So people think all of a sudden, if you played a game, you are better off in the second game. But I have this data, and I did post it on my Twitter, @CalSportsLV. When an FBS team is playing game 1 against a team playing their second game of the year, the team playing a season opener, 37-29, 56% since 2016. So just the opposite of what you could expect. And the answer might be as simple as this. Iowa State spent all August prepping for Kansas State. If they had some free time, they probably likely look to prep at Iowa, coming back for a short week and then another week. So while you think, oh my God, they have experience, they got their playbook, this other team has prepped for this opponent the entire August. So a game under belt, rest versus rust in college football, game number 1, it surprises a lot of people that those guys playing a season opener have a sizable advantage at 56.1% since 2016.
Yeah, good stuff there. We've already got a comment in the chat there that somebody's got Iowa circled for next week. A little look ahead. I know that Iowa, they've certainly got that one circled in Iowa City there against their in-state rival. Here's a question on another game for tonight. There's a lot of trendy underdogs, I think, on Thursday, guys. As I look at the odds screen, a lot of people looking to take the points here on Thursday. Buffalo is one of those teams. They're taking on Minnesota. So obviously, look, I just talked about the MAC. I'm from the MAC. You guys all know, everybody knows there's a big gap between the Big Ten and the MAC. We all understand this. But in this instance, it's one of the better teams from the MAC, Buffalo, against middle of the road Big Ten team at best in Minnesota. I don't know. PJ Fleck and his Jim Tressel Jr. approach have never really, row the boat. I don't know. That kind of wears a little thin with me. Ross, do we think Buffalo's live in this spot? A lot of people do.
Yeah, PJ Fleck, he just rubs me the wrong way. I'm glad you said that, Brian. And it was you instead of me that brought that topic up. Anyway, Buffalo, last year they won 9 games. Again, they played in the MAC. They won a bowl game. This is going to be one of the better defensive teams in the MAC this year. They're one of the favorites in the MAC this year. Catching 17 or 18, I believe, Brian, right now. I mean, again, I would not – there's a lot better games on the board this coming 5 days than this one. But having said that, if you put the proverbial gun to my head, I would have a small lean taking the points on Buffalo and also going under the total in this contest. I think we could see a low-scoring game here. So, Ralph, do you have anything in the database?
Correlated.
I don't, but you look at with a total this low, I clearly do like the under. And just FYI, game 1 in college football, they are 55% to the under. So not a wow number again, but just so you guys know the data. So it's, we're just sharing with that. This is a game where too many new pieces for both. I'm going to be very conservative week number 1. I like doing a lot of reading before and after to catch up. So again, I'll give you my opinions, but my card, besides the 5% I have for tomorrow, I might only have 2 or 3 plays this entire weekend in college football because the transfer portal, how things have changed, and we're here to make educated decisions. But if you have a team with that many new starters and bringing in that type of transfer portal, there's not a person in the world that can make that educated decision how good or how much that team can improve or will fall back.
I will share one data point on this game here. Minnesota was a great team to bet on last year. I think they finished 9-3-1 against the number. However, they did not close north of 17 against any FBS opponent. They were minus 17 against Nevada, who was terrible last year. And the only game that they closed higher than that was against an FCS opponent. We got a lot of FCS questions rolling in here. We're going to get to those in just a little bit, but guys, there's a very big game taking place on Saturday. I'm going to make an executive decision and get to that one first. Perhaps you have heard at noon Eastern on Saturday in Columbus, Ohio, the Buckeyes will be hosting Texas, a rematch of last year's national semifinal. Ross, there will be a lot of eyes on this one, obviously, and there are a lot of question marks. To Ralph's point, very well taken, about being cautious here in the first game of the year because there's so many unknowns. Look, everyone just presumes Arch Manning is going to come in and be, the second coming. This is a hard spot to play. And then the Ohio State quarterback situation is even more of a question mark. There's question marks along both lines here, the offensive and defensive lines for Ohio State and Texas. Talk to me about how you're looking at this very, very big game.
Again, I think there's more value on the board than this game. There's too many unknowns and uncertainties heading into this matchup. 2 highly touted teams. Texas consensus number 1 in just about every poll and opinion that you hear these days. I agree with you on Arch Manning. He hasn't proven a thing yet, and we'll see. I'm going to take Ralph's approach here. It's a wait and see. This is too tough a call for me, and I'm not too proud to say that. And it's not going to get any of my money, I can tell you that. But if I did have any kind of lean here, I would say based on just what you said, Brian, I think I would have a lean toward the under in this contest. 2 highly hyped teams and 2 a lot of unknown on the offense, especially on Ohio State's side. So we'll see.
I'm really interested to see how the line moves, guys, on game day. That's going to be pretty telling to me. Ralph, I know you know Ohio State pretty well. Is there any thoughts you have here on obviously Texas, the big? Is there anything that the database says about revenge? This is a very unique situation that we have here, where the teams just finished the season again, or Texas's season ended against Ohio State, and now they're opening the next season against them.
Can you call it revenge if the favorite won? Not really. Yes, it's playoff revenge, but I'm going to put you 2 on the spot. I don't mean to do this, but this is sort of a wild number and it needs to be discussed. Since 2000, so we're talking 25 years, How many top 5 regular season non-conference matchups have there been since 2000?
Top 5 regular season non-conference since 2000.
Yep.
2.
How many? Wait, repeat that again, Ralph. I'm sorry.
Regular season non-conference AP top 5s.
Oh, top 5. Okay. I'm going to say, I'm not going to say 2, but I would say closer to 10, between 5 and 10.
You guys are close. There's been 6 since 2000. That's it. Ohio State, Notre Dame in 2022. Ohio State, Oklahoma in 2017. Florida State, Notre Dame back in 2014. By the way, the home team is 1-5 against the spread, and those games are 0-5-1 over under. Makes sense, right? 2 good teams. If you have a top 5 team, you likely have a big defense. You're playing in a playoff type atmosphere. I do like the under in this one. You got to remember that, no matter how good Arch Manning is, the offensive line returns 1 starter. It's a good one in DJ Campbell, who has 30 career starts. The Ohio State offensive line, much better position for Julian Salon. Problem is Ohio State's defense, the D-line, is the weakest part of that unit. But to me, I do like under. I would lean under first half here as these 2 young quarterbacks try to get situated with a rush attack that they're going to try to establish. Under first half for me. As far as the game goes, to me, it's a toss-up. I'll enjoy watching it. I'm going to root for the Buckeyes. But if you force me to give a best bet, first half under the total on Saturday at noon.
Each week here, I'm going to want to give, I think we all will want to give big picture analysis as well, not just the game, but things to look for down the road in the season. With Ohio State, I'm going to say this right now. I think even the most ardent fan in Columbus has to agree, massive downgrade at the 2 coordinators this year. You go from Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles to Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia. Yeah, I think it's the defensive side of the ball too that's to watch. I think going from Knowles to Patricia is a big time downgrade in the coordinator spot there. So we shall see how that affects the team. Those FCS questions that we had, I don't want to forget about them. I like San Diego State. I think Stony Brook absolutely stinks. So if you're looking to play San Diego State, I will sign off on that. And then we have a question: Bama State plus 21. They're playing you. Look, I'm never going to bet UAB with Trent Dilfer as the head coach ever. I've had some good bets going against the UAB, but what a terrible hire! I can't believe he's stealing a paycheck there still. I don't know if there's any thoughts on the FCS guys. If not, we can move on to
Stony Brook is a top 20 team this year in the FCS preseason poll. Watch out, baby.
I don't know. San Diego State is another one that, again, they need to show something. The bottom half of the Mountain West last year was abhorrent. So I think there's a lot of those teams that need to show something. So there you go. Hopefully with your FCS questions, the chat also, they seem to concur with that under 47. I would co-sign that as well on Ohio State and Texas. All right, some other big games here on Saturday. How about Alabama and Florida State? Guys, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Florida State's going to be better than they were last year. I know that that's a really hard thing. My God, did the bottom drop out in Tallahassee? It dropped out all the way, and it's starting in week 0. Ralph, I'm going to go to you because I know, Ross, I believe you're going to be doing a video elsewhere here.
Yeah, but I'll give you some input, but go ahead, Ralph.
Sure. Yeah, I'll kick it to Ralph first. By the way, guys, we talk about some of these other videos we do. Ralph does Nerfy videos, obviously, every day in baseball. I do the Power 5. Ross, you can see his insight every day here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. A good time for me to remind you to click that bell down below, that subscribe button. That way you're instantly notified when all of these fine shows drop. But Ralph, Bama and Florida State. Florida State, yes, I kid. They're obviously going to be better than they were a year ago. But are they going to be able to stay within 2 touchdowns, the Crimson Tide, at home?
Well, if you read the Gold Sheet, which was free, which was only $5 this week, did you know Bama has won 26 straight season openers, and they're 17-2 against the spread in week number 1. I like Alabama. I bet Alabama to win the national championship. I think Alabama's O-line is one of the best in the SEC. You got an All-American at center in Bradford. You got Proctor. You've got other returning starters. Ty Simpson, yes, you don't know what you have at quarterback. Florida State, new quarterback with Castellanos, 20 starts at BC the last 2 years. But I really think their O-line is going to struggle. Now, Florida State is a team that returns very few returning starters. But let me give you an example of their O-line of what they brought in this year. They have Medley, who's going to be one starter who has 17 career starts. He's the only returning starter back. But the experience is this. Pettibone, 22 starts at Wake Forest. We have Leonard, 14 starts at Florida, 2 years, 3 starts here last year, 20 starts at Ole Miss for Pettis, and Hansen, 35 starts, 3 years at Indy. So you have a very experienced group. If they were playing anyone else in week 1 except this Bama team with a D-line that's very strong, I would give an edge to Florida State. In this instance, with this coaching staff coming off the season they did, no team, I mean, you would think Bama went 2-10, as hungry as they are, versus being a 4-loss team, which is as rare, down in that area of the woods, seeing 4 losses on a season win total. To me, Bama still has a shot to be one of my client releases. I've got to do some more reading on the game, but no question for me, it's the Tide.
I like that look, Ralph, on Bama to win the national championship. Yes, let's not sleep on Kalen DeBoer is a very good coach. I know he's following the legendary Nick Saban. That's a tough gig. I would have signed up for it, Ross. But hey, Kalen DeBoer, I think he can get it done. You said we talked about you're going to be doing a video breakdown of this game. Ross, elsewhere here.
It just went up on WagerTalk TV. So you could get that right now, folks. WT.buzz/Ross TV to get right to that video. But just a couple notes. I mean, I couldn't agree with everything that Ralph said. You're talking about an FC Florida State program that's bringing in a lot of transfers. Those 4 offensive linemen that Ralph referred to, a combined 105 starts at the FBS level. That's certainly going to be an improvement, right? But by the same token, you're playing Alabama in a defense that returns 13 returning defenders from last year that played 200 or more snaps each. So not only are they a great defense, not only are they great in season openers, like Ralph just said, in their last 9 season openers, 6 of which came against Power 4 conference teams, they've allowed an average of 6.9 points per game. So, again, for a more detailed analysis on this game, without taking too much more time, back to you, Brian.
All right. We've got a ton, by the way, of great game previews, standalone game previews you can check out on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Make sure to do that now. And by the way, of course, you can do that after you're done watching the Blitz here. Please don't forget to smash that like button. We always appreciate your support here on the Blitz, and keep those comments coming like this one. Adam, we're going to go back to Thursday, guys. We were talking Saturday a little bit here, but of course there are games tonight. Cincinnati and Nebraska. It's been stuck at 6.5 for a while now. Any expectation on the line move here, guys? You talk about coaches I don't like. I don't know. We'll mention them all. Scott Satterfield is not on my Christmas card list, personally. I don't think he's done a very good job there. But it's also put up or shut up time for Matt Rule in Lincoln. They need to start winning, and they need to start winning close games. It's almost statistically impossible how poor this program has been in close games.
Yeah, first off, this game's at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. It's a neutral site game. So, Nebraska, high expectations this year. Cincinnati coming off an off year last year. I agree with you. I'm not a big Satterfield guy. I think they pulled the trigger too quick on him. It's not like he had a ton of success at Louisville, although he had some. And he certainly had, to me, he had more success when he was at Appalachian State, correct, Ralph? If I'm not mistaken, Satterfield initially.
Yes.
So, and I just think there's not enough value here either way. Too much uncertainty. You just mentioned, Brian, Nebraska has to start winning some close games. Well, with that being in mind, how willing are you to lay 6.5 in a neutral site game in a season opener against a team that you're probably better than on paper, obviously, when you look at the line in a neutral site game? But I just don't have a lot of faith in Nebraska covering a number right off the bat. This is another one of those games like Ralph was just mentioning. Watch it, learn, move on, and have a better assessment going forward.
Yeah, it's a pass for me. Ralph, anything that you would like to share here on Nebraska, Cincinnati? Again, Arrowhead Stadium. It is a neutral site game.
I did not buy the hype into Nebraska 2 years ago. I did not buy the hype into Nebraska last year, but I'll tell you what, I started sipping the Nebraska brew a little bit this year. We'll see. Obviously, live or die with a quarterback role who everyone keeps thinking is going to be a superstar, and we'll see. I do like the coordinator upgrades and the QB coaches they brought in to help the kids. So I would lean Nebraska, but again, I'm not going to bet money on, like you said, a team that only outgained their foes by 5 yards per game last year. And let's see, games decided by 7 or less that you said, Brian. They lost to Illinois. They lost to Ohio State. They lost to UCLA. They lost to USC by 8. They lost to Iowa by 3. Oh, they did win the bowl game by 5. But maybe they learned their lesson in the bowl game, and that's going to transfer forward to this year.
Yeah, it is just an unspeakable. Again, I'll check it in just a second, guys, what the exact record is, but it is unspeakably bad. Nebraska's record in close games, going back to the Scott Frost era. We talked about Ohio State earlier. They are, of course, playing Texas at noon Eastern on Saturday. Ohio State's rival Michigan, a little bit of an easier one, guys, hosting New Mexico in the Big House Saturday night. Do we think Michigan can cover a 41.5 team total? Here's the deal, guys. I don't know if New Mexico is going to score a point in this game. I'm interested to see the 5-star recruit Bryce Underwood at quarterback, but I looked at my power ratings, and the spread here of 34.5 last night that I saw, that looked low. And Ralph, I don't know if you have anything in the database, but these big favorites in week 1, these really big favorites, I'm talking 30 plus, I think they tend to do pretty well, actually. I mean, people look at, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to lay that number. But in this instance, I mean, Michigan against New Mexico, this is about as big a mismatch as it gets.
Brian, on that video I did today, let me share with you that I'm trying to find it. This doesn't quite apply to Michigan, but in game 1, if you're playing an FBS foe, they do much better versus FCS, those big favorites. Why? Because they're concentrating on people they know they're going to play. It's more important. They're not playing an FCS team. Since 2013, favorites in game 1 of 37 or more are 19-2 against the spread. That applies to Georgia and Penn State this week. And the only 2 teams that failed to cover, Tennessee played Bowling Green in 2021. They were laying 37. They won by 32, so they failed to cover by 5. And Ohio State played Akron a few years ago. They were laying 48.5. They won by 46. So there's times, Brian, when you said the statement, and let's remember, guys, this isn't the days when Ross and I were young that we could bet, that you had to bet a side, and if it was...
Notice how he left you out, Brian?
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Brian's a kid compared to us. Remember the days where you could bet the side and you could only bet the total if it was on national TV, right? You had to call in your bookie and, oh, yeah, cool, I got a total. Well, with what we have now, take a look at, Brian, you said what you think Michigan's going to score, what you think New Mexico's going to score, perhaps betting against New Mexico team total first half or team total full game gives you more value with having the same thought breaking down a game. So when we break down a game now, it could take 6 or 7 paths on which way we find the most value with that line and with that total. First quarter, first half, player props, team totals, all of that is open to all of us now. So I think that's why we've all become better college football bettors. As I speak to the number 1 and number 5, 3 top 5 WagerTalk college football handicappers from last season.
All right. Yes, that is exactly. So, all right, Michigan. Ross, is there anything you wanted to add on this Michigan New Mexico situation?
Want to add something, and I'm going to give Ralph a challenge here, Brian. Since he called me old, and since we're both old, so 2 veterans. I looked this up. I'm going to challenge Ralph on his spare time. I did a study like about 5 years ago. And whenever you get a game like this, where you have a team where their point spread is 33% or better of what the game total is, you play the favorite and over and the underdog and under, 2 separate sports books. And if you do that, okay, that you're going to get your rate of or your return on investment is going to be very good. It was somewhere around 9% when I checked this. And I did a study over like 10 years. And that goes back to, again, I know this is a little off the cuff, Brian, but I just, because Ralph loves this kind of stuff, I like to get Ralph excited,
Yeah, well, I'm going back. I looked in the database if I had something saved, Ross. I don't have anything like that saved, but
Yeah.
I pulled up a trend that I had saved. When there's a line of 30 or more with a total of 48 or less, like your ULM game, Brian, that you were talking earlier, the over is 75 and 33, 69.4% to the over. So, when you have a team that is that much better than another opponent with a low total, it has been an overplay. But sorry, Ross, you did catch me off guard on that one. My apologies.
Yeah, well, having said that, on a serious note, the gentleman who just wrote in, Brian, wanted to know how we feel about Michigan going over their team total 41 and a half. And Ralph, you just hit upon that. That's a sure clad backing for going over 41 and a half, which you just said.
Yeah, one would think if Michigan's to cover the spread, they're going to go over that. So again, though, I think New Mexico may not score in this game. That is the only thing you would have to be careful about. If Michigan maybe they do have a big game on deck against Oklahoma. So there is a chance if they're up big, like we all presume they will, that they could call off the Dogs. Ralph.
I want to bring up one thing, not related to a game we're doing, but I remember talking to a lot of people, and I proved them wrong every time. Like, they would be, I don't want to lay 4 touchdowns with Wisconsin. They're a running team. But remember this, guys, early in the year, when you're playing nobodies, you are going to bring in your number 2s, maybe your number 3s to get some experience with a big lead. It is much easier for a team that always runs the ball, that has a second and third string team that plays the exact same offense. They practice every day together. So when Wisconsin has a big lead and in the third quarter, fourth quarter, they're running ball, that's a big edge for them versus a team that's bringing in a second or third string quarterback that hasn't played with this offensive line, that's trying to not play their normal pace or play their normal playbook. So don't always think that an air raid offense is the right way to lay points late. I actually like those running teams that do score some points and it can pull away in the second half.
Just one other quick point, Brian, if I could.
Sure.
You mentioned a look ahead. I'm a big look ahead guy, right? But I will tell you this. I am not a proponent of look ahead spots and season openers because if you're not ready to play in your season opener, there's something wrong. It's not a good sign for the season. And I'm not talking about losing your season opener, saying, well, they were looking ahead to week 2. You don't look beyond your season opener. You prepared for this all year long. So although I do agree with you, look aheads are a crucial part of sports handicapping, especially when it comes to college football.
Yeah, one more thing on Michigan. I'll throw this in. After all these sanctions and the talk about the program, they might have a little chip on their shoulder and they might want to embarrass somebody on national television Saturday night. I believe that game is on NBC. We will be talking about Notre Dame, Miami coming up in just a little bit, but from Michigan, New Mexico, we're going to go to a game that's going to be a little bit more competitive, I think, on Saturday. LSU and Clemson. LSU, obviously everybody knows that Brian Kelly has not done well in season openers. 0-3, I believe that's straight up, and I believe he was favored in all 3. He does... It's even worse. 0-5.
6 straight.
0-5.
6 straight. Going back to 2019. At Notre Dame, his first game was Louisville, and he lost that as well. So
I was just talking LSU. Yeah, he did that bad Cajun accent when he got hired at LSU. I know that. That's something I can't get out of my head as well. That was so phony. Who fell for that? Anyway, all kidding aside, Ross, do we think that LSU, can Kelly get off the schneid here? Clemson did not look good in their season opener last year, by the way, against Georgia. They got taken to the woodshed. Of course, they still wound up winning the ACC. But your read on this battle of Tigers that I know a lot of people are interested in Saturday night.
I have a strong opinion on the side. It's going to be one of my picks on Saturday, so I'm going to just be real limited as to say that both of these quarterbacks are considered serious Heisman Trophy candidates. Nussmeier for LSU, and then it seems like Cade Klubnik's been there for about 20 years at Clemson. Both of these teams are projected to have explosive offenses, and I agree with that assessment. You're looking at a Clemson team that returns just about everybody on offense. Matter of fact, they're number one nationally in returning production on offense. And LSU is going to be dynamic on offense. And if I'm going to give anybody a free pick on this play, which I did on my video earlier, it's going to be on over the total. So I think we're going to see a very high scoring and very entertaining game, Brian.
All right. I see Titan CT there in the chat. He likes LSU +3. Ralph Ross brought up a very good point, because you look at all of the top teams, most of these top teams, but not with these two teams. These are two of the best signal callers, returning signal callers in the country, I would say. So what do we got? What do you think here, Clemson and LSU? We've got some people talking about the total, talking about the side. How are you looking at this?
Oh, I think Clemson's a legit national championship team this year. I mean, with what they have back, everyone's talking about the most experienced team. I mean, that's just a number that someone's throwing out. But to me, it's easy, guys. It is game one. You're playing a ranked opponent. And when you have a significant edge on both the O-line and the D-line, with a quarterback in Klubnak, who is as good as any, that has 28 career starts, it's easy for me. Clemson returns 4 of their 5 offensive lineman starters. And listen to this. They have had 28, I'm adding it up, 56, 50, 62, 890. They've had 123 starts, just the 5 starters. The only returning starter that is not back is a guy who was injured last year and started the year before. The D-line returns 3 starters, and the reliever, the last person that wasn't a starter, started 12 games at Purdue. LSU returns 1 offensive lineman starter, 1 defensive end that returns that started 8 games. Yes, they brought in a lot of recruits, but no question for me, with the teams being close to even in my power ratings, having the home field edge, the O-line, the D-line, and a quarterback and wide receiving crew, which is maybe better than LSU's, I am on the Orange Tigers.
All right, there you go. Club, some love for Clemson there. In the chat, I believe we had a question on Virginia, Coastal Carolina. I will say this about that game. On the Power 5, which I, of course, do every day here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, I had a special college football futures edition. Of course, I would make the case for Virginia to go over 6.5 wins, because that's what we do on the Power 5. Often make those cases that no one else wants to make. I don't know if you guys have a take on this game, but I think, again, Virginia is one of those teams that needs to make a statement in the season, in its season opener. I would actually lay it. I know that Virginia is not a team that many people want to lay double digits with, but it would be lay it or pass for me in that one.
I have a breakdown on this one. I don't like the game. That's where I'm going to leave it. And Ralph, I hate to take the lazy man's route here, but I'll leave it to you to give a breakdown here.
Well, I'm going to make one change, Brian, and I don't have an opinion on this, and it's by no means going to get to my window. And, when Ross said, there's no look ahead in week 1 because you got to win your conference opener, I think there can be a look ahead going into halftime. If you just blew out your opponent, Coastal Carolina, and you have to get at NC State on deck, I'm afraid to lay that type of points with the superior team if they pull away. Now, I don't think they'll pull away, but just in case they do, I want to bring that up, that we'll take a look. I've never done that, Ross, looking at if teams were favored by 21 or more and they led by 17 or more at halftime, did they end up covering or not? That'll be interesting. So, maybe I'll bring that up on next week's show as well, because, maybe I'm wrong in that thought. And that's what's great about the database, guys. We talk about these situations. We think we're experienced and we think we know what will happen. But until we really run those numbers, we don't know. We're just like ESPN analysts breaking down games. But that's why the database is so important. I don't care if you bet the information, fade the information, but just knowing what the true information is the only important thing that you have to pay attention to.
It makes a lot of sense, Ralph. And you know what? I mean, even I'm going to go one step further beyond that is You might want to make a live bet at halftime if that big favorite opens up a huge lead and they're close to covering or are covering at the half. They're more than likely going to pull their starters, okay, and look ahead to that next game that you're referring to. And the other team is, they're not going to want to be thoroughly embarrassed. They're going to be reluctant to pull their starters. So, very good point, my friend. Oh, you're right on the ball as always, Ralph.
Brian, are you doing a pod tomorrow? Your Power 5?
I'll be doing the Power 5, absolutely, yes.
I'll tell you what, how about if I get you that information tonight and you can share it on Power 5 tomorrow? We'll look at favorites of 21 or more, and I'll give you the lead parameters, and we'll actually look in game one what those records are, and if they have a conference game on deck as well. I'll run that data tonight. I'll have it for you first thing in the morning, Brian. So stay tuned to your show tomorrow.
Awesome. Just another reason to check out the Power 5. Oh, by the way, I'm 14-0 with free plays the last 3 days. Thank you very much.
Nice.
And only 8 straight winners in baseball for your
And 8 straight winners in baseball. Yes, I joked on Twitter this morning, guys, that I'm on my best run in baseball just in time for the college football season. But, hey, it doesn't matter what sport it is. If it's winning, we like it. Something else. I agree. Thomas Lynch in the chat. Coastal is slipping and UVA is on the come up. Tony Elliott, you talk about guys on the hot seat there. He needs to get to a bowl this year. Otherwise, I think they're kicking him out of Charlottesville. Notre Dame and Miami. I think we have one more big game to discuss here. It is on Sunday. I think, Ralph, I'll let you hit on this in a second. I know a lot of people say, oh, Notre Dame, their record against Miami. I don't think it's worth the price of eggs. It's old. None of those players are suiting up in this game on Sunday. I had some questions on this game earlier in the week when I was on WagerTalk today. I don't really like a side, guys. I think this is an under game. However, Ross, do you agree with me?
I don't disagree with you. I don't have a strong opinion in that regard. I will say this. Miami, to me, is like a child that keeps doing the same thing and it's wrong, okay? And you scold them for it. And they come back and say, I promise it won't happen again. Every year, Miami gets highly touted, is always somehow in the top 10 rankings, and they thoroughly disappoint, okay? So you won't catch me taking Miami in this game. If I have a lean, it's on Notre Dame. And you know what, Ralph? How do you bet on a Catholic school against a Catholic school on a Sunday, buddy? I mean, there's got to be something in the database for that. I heard the Catholic schools are like 16-1 against the spread since 1980 when playing on a Sunday. But you could tell us better, Ralph.
In the 80s and 90s and 2000s, Ross, I never lost on a BYU play in college basketball and college football that was played on a Sunday.
Because there wasn't any.
Yeah, there we go.
This is a situation where I think Notre Dame's the better team. Carson Beck is very manageable. They cost what can $4 million get you? Well, Miami fan knows it's Carson Beck coming from Georgia to be your quarterback. That's the price he got paid on the NIL money. But, the Notre Dame team to me just, you want to talk about a team that just keeps rehashing their defense and keeps getting better every year. And, when you have a running back, when you have a running back like you do in Jeremiah Love, but I'll tell you what, don't get Miami's running back crew gone. They're just as strong. But Notre Dame, to me, has the strong O-line in the running game. So the question is, can CJ Carr do what he's supposed to do? Well, it's interesting. You would think that, a true freshman is going to be a game manager with Love in the backfield and this big O-line. But he keeps saying, the coach and the OC keeps saying, we're going to let this kid throw, so we'll see what happens. If he does have the ability to hit any passes 20 yards or 30 yards downfield, Notre Dame rolls in this game. If he struggles with the deep ball and all they're getting are dinks and dunks and counting on the run game, I think Miami's D, even though it's not very experienced, they do have a solid D line. I like their returning starters in the front there with a couple experienced linebackers. So I will sit and watch. If CJ Carr looks good to me early and maybe they don't have a big lead, this is the situation that I would look to live bet. But I'm going to be with Ross on this. I'm going to agree with again. I'm never going to be on the Miami side live betting this game. If I like what I see out of CJ earlier, it's potentially a live bet for Notre Dame. And I agree with the under as well. That's the only way I would look at this.
Yeah, and the other
if this
thing
is
too,
a close
Ralph,
game, real quick, Ross, if this is a close game, here's something you have to be aware of if you're holding the Miami ticket. Mario Cristobal always does something dumb at the end of games. He's not quite as dumb as he used to be, but he's still dumb at the end of games. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, Mario Cristobal is another Hugh Freeze, in my opinion, a really good recruiter, excellent recruiter, but X and O guy and game day coach, no. Good point, Brian. And the other thing is on CJ Carr. Let's not forget, this is a guy who beat out Steve Angeli in the spring. And Steve Angeli, if you remember, in the Penn State game in the national semifinal, came in and put together a great drive before the half ended. And Steve Angeli has since transferred to Syracuse. So they're very high on CJ Carr, and I'm really anticipating, or I should say, I'm looking forward to see how he does in this spot.
Danny, thank you for your kind words in the chat. We like that you're appreciating the show. We appreciate that you let us know. And Ralph, I'm going to throw this one to you because we had a question about Georgia and Marshall. You referenced the trend earlier about these big favorites. Adam Watt is trying to find a reason not to hammer the Bulldogs. Earlier in the summer, I talked about what an absolute dumpster fire this Marshall program is heading into 2025. Their whole team left. If you liked the Marshall team last year, well, then you should be betting on Southern Miss this year because the entire team left and is now Southern Miss. But we've got a 38.5-point favorite. Again, big spread. You mentioned the trend, favorites of 38 or higher. Those teams have done quite well. George.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on Georgia or I'm not going to get on Penn State with that trend. Just because it's a trend doesn't mean you're going to play it. Again, people ask all the time, and I'll mention this a few times. I would say my trends are about 20% of my plays. So I look at situations, I look at matchups, I look at line value, I look at situational handicapping, put them all together. Each one is about a fifth, and if they all line up, then it's basically a 5% play. That's basically how I go about it. If 4 out of 5 line up, I take a look. Do those 4 outvalue these? To me, Georgia's the only way I'd go with a Marshall O line that is going to be a train wreck. I'm going to put the Georgia over or under sacks at about 7. So when you can get that kind of pressure and probably hold the team to 120 total yards, are you going to be able to score that much? Likely. So we'll see what happens. Over or under 7 sacks for Georgia. I'm going over.
All right. I think Marshall would be an underdog in their season opener against any top 15 team in the FCS right now. That's how bad I think they are. I mean, it's nothing against the kids, but they got put in a tough spot. I mean, the coach leaves for Southern Miss, takes how many transfers with him from Marshall after they had a great year? It's going to be a long year for Marshall. And, I don't see any other way but to lay the 38.5, although you'll never catch me laying that kind of number.
Ralph earlier mentioned these two guys, number 1 and 2 last year in college football. I'm going to be letting them talk about what they've got on tap for the weekend in just a moment. But I just want to wrap up these quick questions here before we do that. Titan CT, any thoughts on USC in general? Could they win the Big Ten? I don't know if they can win the Big Ten, but on the aforementioned Power 5, I took a long shot. I said USC north of 4-1 to make the playoff. I think they are live. Do that. I think they're going to be a step up. This was a team that was a couple plays away from being a few plays away, I should say, from being 11-1 last year. They had horrible close game luck. Georgia team total, I guess that kind of goes again. We had that discussion with Michigan, New Mexico. I think Georgia would be a similar situation there. And then, John, we did talk earlier about Alabama and FSU. I think all three of us were in agreement that could be a long afternoon for the Noles against an Alabama team that I know Ralph has bet to win the national championship. I like that bet. And Ross, I believe, had positive things to say about it as well. Ross, how about you say some positive things about yourself right now and talk to the fine people about what you've got going on at WagerTalk.com this weekend?
Well, Brian, I am very glad that you asked. Number 1 college football last year in both units earned and win percentage. Number 2 years ago over the last 2 college football seasons. Number 1 at WagerTalk.com in combined units earned. So Why should you buy my college football annual package for just $5.99 and get $100 off right now by using the promo code BLITZ, BLITZ, the name of this program. Use the name of this program, promo code at checkout, and that'll take that price down to $4.99. Wow. And I gave you the numbers. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Nothing against you guys, but right here. Matter of fact, why don't you take all three of us? Because we were in the top 5, all 3 last year. It'll cost you $4.99 a piece. How much does that add up to? Ralph will give you that number. He got a calculator in his head. And also number 1 in Major League Baseball right now. I know we're talking college football, but number 1 for the season in Major League Baseball right now in all sports, Brian, 61% since May 13th and up 101 units. So a lot to like about buying from me right now.
All right. There you have it. They don't call him the boss for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it right there. Ralph, you mentioned you have a 5% play going this weekend.
It is up Friday. It's a Friday night game, guys. Again, I humbly will follow the boss because I was number 2 in college football. 9-0 run on college football, 4% and 5% plays. College totals last year, 4% and 5%. I only had 4 of them. Went a perfect 4-0. NFL and college football regular season best bets, 4% and 5%. 17-2, 89%. Get my 5% on Friday and the entire season for $4.99. Again, the code BLITZ, BLITZ, works for Ross, myself, and Mr. Brian Power. Tell us about your weekend package.
Oh, well, thank you, Ralph. That was an excellent transition. I would love to do so. Look, guys, we are talking college football here. Top 5 finish last year. Got some play. I have a play up for tonight. I have a play up for Sunday already, a 4% best bet. My 4% game of the week. If you are a subscriber, you already have that play. You will have the full write-up here, in about an hour. And the rest of you will be, if you're catching this on the replay, it should be available for sale. Also, if you're catching us live, there are benefits to watching this show live. Not only can you get your comments in, guys, but you got a few minutes left to get my 4% best bet in Major League Baseball. As I mentioned earlier, Major League Baseball has gone very well this week. We're on a perfect 8-0 run on the diamond since Saturday. Number 1 in MLB last 7 days. Number 1 overall at WagerTalk the last 3 days. So WT.buzz/BP. And yes, these guys both mentioned it. I will reiterate it as well. Take $100 off a college football season package with coupon code BLITZ, BLITZ. We spell it right up top on the screen there for you. All right, guys. I think we're done with another edition of the Blitz. 2 shows in. I think we did a very fine job, if I do say so myself. Every Thursday, guys, we are live, 1 p.m. Eastern, immediately following Andy Lang on WagerTalk today. Thank you all for your participation. We'll see you next week. Until then, let's cash some tickets.